Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Real Science Exchange, the pubcast where leading scientists and industry professionals meet over a few drinks to discuss the latest ideas and trends in animal nutrition. Tonight, we got a very, very special episode of the Real Science Exchange because we're here at the 2025 ADSA meetings. Tonight, we're raising a glass to a fine bourbon to celebrate the ADSA and the remarkable members that drive innovation and excellence in dairy science. We're coming to you from Balchem's Bourbon and Brainiacs event here at the Frazier Museum, where we'll show stories from the ADSA meetings past alongside so many of the past alumni of the Real Science Exchange. So I want to ask you just to join us tonight and toast the ADSA community and share the stories that make it unforgettable. So let's get started. We're going to start. I'm going to start real quick, just ask you guys to real quick introduce yourself. Most of you guys don't need an introduction, but over here to my left, Dr. Jose Santos, tell us just a quick word about yourself.
Well, I work at the University of Florida. I'm originally from Brazil, but I've been here in the U.S. for the last 32 years.
Yeah. Dr. Firkins, OH.
Hi-yo.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm at Ohio State, and I'm kind of closing in on my 38th year there, so it's
nice.
Been a long time.
Yeah.
And I'm originally from Northern Illinois, and so I love ruminant nutrition, especially dairy cows. So.
Yeah, good. Well, thanks for joining us tonight. Dr. Weiss, you're no stranger to the pub. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm retired from the Ohio State University. I worked there for 39 years, including graduate work. Minerals, vitamins, and some other stuff. Great place to work, but it's also great to be retired. So.
Yeah, good. And then to my right is a new face, Steve Yates. Not been at the pub before, at least not this pub. Tell us a little bit about yourself, because you're going to be playing a key part of this first segment.
Well, thank you, Scott. I am a proud graduate of the University of Kentucky and am the group sales manager here at the Frazier, where I conduct guided tours on our Spirit of Kentucky Bourbon exhibit and also do bourbon tastings. So I've been given the honor of being able to be the bourbon steward tonight at this fine event and the pleasure of being a guest in your all's fine podcast. So Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. So I see we've got 3 bourbons laid out here before us. Take us through it, Steve. The economics of feeding Reassure precision release choline. Reassure is fed during the transition period, and because it's fed for such a short period of time, it costs just $15 per cow. And yet the benefits will continue to generate income throughout the year. Cows fed Reassure produce 5 pounds more colostrum, which pays for your Reassure investment on the very first day of lactation. Cows fed Reassure also produce 5 pounds more milk per day, every day. That means after the first day, every day is payday. Invest in Reassure during the transition period and recoup your investment on the very first day of lactation. After that, you got it, payday.
Well, actually, we have 2 bourbons and a rye whiskey. We had when the folks at B contacted me, they asked what would be a good selection, and I always like to have a bourbon with a traditional rye mash bill, one with a wheated mash bill, and then a finished bourbon. And what I mean by that, for a bourbon to be bourbon, it's got to be at least 51% corn with a bunch of other requirements. But that is what we have here on the left, Buffalo Trace, a traditional blend of low and high rye that gives it just a great traditional bourbon flavor, a lot of corn, a lot of sweetness at 90 proof. The Maker's Mark is a wheated bourbon that is finished with French oak staves. And what I mean by that is they age it like they would regular Maker's Mark, around 6 years. And when that is done, they take the product and they dump it in a holding receptacle and they put about 15 freshly seared French oak staves inside. They give it an extra kick of flavor that differentiates it from the regular Maker's Mark. So that's at 94 proof. And then the last expression is Angel's Envy finished rye, which the difference between a rye and a bourbon, rye has to be at least 51% of the corn or the ingredient in the spirit. But what they do, it's 95% corn, and then once the distiller says it's ready, they take it and they finish it in a rum cask for an additional 3 to 6 months. So it has a lot more sweetness to it, almost like an after-dinner liqueur to me, So that's the three that we picked so that when the folks who were at this event, they would get three distinctly separate or distinct flavor profiles. So it wouldn't be the same thing. The thing I hate the most is when people taste three things that are exactly the same and then it just comes down to what costs what. I think there's so many vast varieties of flavor profiles. Give people three distinctly different ones and let them decide which one they like the best.
So we're going to be tasting all three of these, Steve.
Yes, sir.
Is there a right way or a wrong way to taste these? I'm assuming maybe not a shot. It's probably not the way to go.
Well, I tell people on my tours that if they want to harken back to the days in their fraternity basement and throw it back, that is their prerogative. Because as Jimmy Russell, the master distiller at Wild Turkey, told me many years ago, there's no wrong way to drink bourbon. But if you want to taste it and get all the flavors, here's how I was taught by Freddie Johnson, who is a Bourbon Hall of Famer at Buffalo Trace. First thing, here's a little interesting science. You guys may find this very interesting. When you smell bourbon, you want to do it with your mouth open. So take the glass on your far left in front of you, cover up one side of your nostril, give it a smell with the mouth open, and then do the other side. And you should get a stronger sense of smell on one side than the other, and that is your dominant nostril. And the other side acts as a filter. Freddie showed me this at Buffalo Trace one day, and I thought it was absolutely it's more one of the cool things about the human anatomy than it is bourbon, but it's interesting, and it can change. Like if you're right-handed, you will not always be a right-handed or a right nostril dominant person. I got to tell a quick story, Scott. The first time I did this, we were up in our speakeasy, and the door was open, and a group walked by, and they stuck their head in, and they thought we were snorting bourbon. We were not at that moment.
That burned.
It would have burned. But it's kind of a funny thing. But when you said come into taste, this is how Freddie said is the best way to taste. Take about half of what's in your glass, get it on the tip of your tongue and on your gums, and swish it around and hold it like mouthwash for a couple seconds. That's called the Kentucky Chew. You're chewing on it, getting your whole mouth acclimated to the spirit. Then just let it slide down, and that warm feeling you get in your belly is called the Kentucky Hug.
Okay.
And so we're going to see what smells matches up with what tastes. I'm not as big a person on tasty notes because I can tell you what I like and what I don't like. We had this conversation earlier. But let's try this and see if this works for you guys. And we're going to go from lowest proof to highest proof. That's I tend to like stair stepping that way. Get your mouth acclimated. Now, I should have asked, has everybody had Buffalo Trace? Now,
Yeah, it's my go-to. Yeah.
it's a really, what I call a very good everyday sipper.
Yeah.
90 proof, so it's not like a huge shock to your system. But that first taste, if you have multiple, if you're doing a tasting, is always the hardest because your mouth isn't acclimated to the alcohol, right? So the one that bats lead off is taking one for the team. Now, ideally, there would be a little bit left in here, and I always suggest if you want to put a little water in it to see if that makes a difference. I think that's a waste of good Kentucky water, personally, but everybody has their own opinion. These are all very smooth, and I don't think, I do that more for higher proof bourbons just to give people a different taste. But that is the baseline. That's how the process that I was taught to taste bourbon, to get that full experience in your mouth, do the chew, do the hug, and then just kind of go from there. So that is the Buffalo Trace. Now, do you just want to go down the line, or did you want?
No, that'd be fine. Yeah. Any
Maker's Fort-
questions, guys?
So you would taste exactly like you do with wine, yeah?
Very similar to wine, Doctor. Yes, sir. The analogies between wine and bourbon are numerous. How you taste, you don't want to buy just on price. There's so many different things. Find your flavor profile, find your palate before you drop a decent amount of money on a bottle. So yes, that would be my recommendation. But there are different times when you decide you want to do it a different way, and there's no wrong way. It's whatever you want to do at the time. That's just the way I think it is the best way when especially if you're trying something for the first time or in a group, to kind of give you that full effect, that Kentucky effect. Now, this next one is the Maker's 46, and we get the mash bill on this. And what I mean by that is the recipe. It is 70% corn, 16% red winter wheat, and if my Kentucky math serves me right, 14% malted barley. When you smell this one, it's a little different than what you regularly would get with Maker's Mark. But what I tell people when you have a wheated bourbon, if you think about it like bread, wheat bread is sweet and rye bread is spicy. It's the same thing in whiskey. Nothing to do with the alcohol content, but with the flavor. So this should have a little bit more sweetness to it. Give this a taste and see if, first off, if it tastes different than the Buffalo Trace, and see if you like it a little better or if it's not so much your flavor.
And how consistent it is from harvest to harvest? Like,
There are variables with that, and with the grains, and the weather has a lot to play with it. So those are very good questions. They try to get as much consistency as they can, but really the only thing they can really control is the percentage of grains that go in it, and then the proof that's on it, because you can use water to get it to the proof. They control the things they can control, and then they deal with the things that Mother Nature throws at them.
But they would not blend from one year to the next to make sure that it's always somewhat the same.
They try.
Flavor
It
profile.
is a small batch, so that in makers, I don't know how many they do. They do try to strive for consistency, so I would think they are going to try to do that to the best of their ability. But it's going to vary from batches to batches, because the years that you get are not going to all be from the same year, or they're not all going to have the same winters or summers, because master distillers in Kentucky, in an ideal world, get really cold winters and really hot summers, so you're going to get those barrels expanding and contracting, pulling those sugars out of those caramelized white oak barrels, and that's ideal. But we know nothing is ideal when it comes to Mother Nature, so some years are going to have more flavor than others. That's why these folks truly are chemical geniuses, in my opinion, because they have to they're striving for consistency, but it's an ongoing battle that is constant. Let's give this one a taste and tell me, first, have you all had the 46 before? Some have said no, and we had one yes. Okay.
So how is this different from the regular one, from
Well,
the regular makers?
The regular makers is like around 6 to 7 years, but when it's done, they put it in the bottles and they ship it out. It's the finishing with the French oak staves. It's like 10 to 15 freshly seared French oak staves. They put it in the barrel that the bourbon just came out of, put the bourbon in a holding receptacle, and then they put it back in that barrel with the French oak staves to give it that extra boost of flavor.
The mash bill, though, is the same.
Yes, the mash bill is the same.
just the
But this has more of an alcohol kick.
Okay,
than
we
that
went
one.
we
It's a
went
little
from
higher.
90 to 94, so there is a little bit more alcohol in it. That's a good observation.
I didn't get as heavy a nose on
this
this
one
as I
is
did
much
with the
more
Buffalo
muted.
Trace.
Well, I didn't either, and part of that is now the one advantage that I think you get for the first one is the nose,
Okay.
because you
Now
haven't
it's
had
kinda
anything.
acclimated to
Yeah,
it.
it's new. That's the advantage of it. The disadvantage is your mouth isn't acclimated to the alcohol.
Yeah. I got
So that is kind of I guess I would ask you guys, as opposed to a rye bourbon and a wheat bourbon that was finished, could you tell the difference in the taste?
Yeah.
Yes.
One may be more towards your palate or towards your preference, but that's the whole thing. I just always want to make sure that people can tell the difference.
I tell a difference, but I can't tell you what the difference is.
That's me
it.
too.
You got to drink more.
Then we'll solve all the world's
Then I'll
problems.
make some stuff up. That's what I'll do.
Well, then we'll solve all the world's problems. Now, the third one is Angel's Envy Rye Whiskey. As I mentioned, rye whiskey as opposed to bourbon, rye has to be the predominant grain, at least 51%, as opposed to bourbon where it's corn has to be 51%. Very unique mash bill with the Angel's Envy Rye. 95% rye, 5% malted barley. And it's about 6 to 7 years, just like regular Angel's Envy. But where regular Angel's Envy is finished in a port wine barrel, this rye whiskey is finished in a rum cask. So you're going to get a lot of sweetness to it. It's 100 proof as opposed to regular Maker's Mark is like 86 point something. So it's a little bit stronger in alcohol. And to me, it has a very sweet flavor to it. Give this one a smell and see if you get.
Oh, yeah. It smells.
Oh, it smells rummy.
Yeah, it does.
It does. I mean, it's
Rummy or yummy?
both. But I can smell rummy.
We got a new mark. We got a new T-shirt. We just invented. It's yummy and rummy. Makers, you're gonna owe me for this. Or Angel's Envy. But let's give this one a smell or taste and see what you think. See, this to me is distinctly different than the first
Very
two.
different.
You may have liked it better. You may have not have liked it as well. But
Very different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very,
thoughts,
very,
does it
very
even,
different.
I mean, it doesn't even really taste like
It
rye
does
whiskey
not,
to me.
no.
Yeah, the sweetness kind of tones down the rye.
Because a lot of people will come up if you have rye and a tasting, and they're like, "Oh, I don't like rye," and I'm like, "Give this one a taste and make up your own mind on this because it doesn't taste like a traditional rye. Even
That's
at
me.
90, even 95% rye in it, the rum is
Yeah,
kind of forward to me."
Not
Right.
too keen.
Very
I like rye, but I'm not too keen on this one. So.
Well, and
Yeah.
see,
Oh, really?
I
Yeah.
appreciate
Okay.
the candor
I'm
because
the
that's
opposite.
well, see, that's why they have all those flavors, right?
So,
But it's, that's why they have the different mash bills and the different proofs. If not, it would just be a matter of what one is in your price range,
Yeah.
as opposed to your flavor profile. The nice thing about this is in most cities and states, they have these larger liquor stores that have tasting bars in it, right? So you don't have to buy a $100 bottle if you want to get yourself a treat without getting to taste it first. I can't do that, and I've been doing this for a long time, and I love my bourbon, but I'm not pulling the trigger on something that I haven't tasted. And I think that's where a lot of these places have really gotten to be good about that. Along with the distilleries, you can get a flight and you can taste the product before you buy it. So those are the three expressions, gentlemen, and how I was taught to taste. It is what it is. I tell people all the time, do what you like. I've harkened back to my fraternity days and thrown them back a few times too. So it's not a bad.
I wasn't drinking this kind of stuff. When that,
Well, no, I was drinking something called Kentucky Tavern or Kentucky Gentleman, and let me assure you, there were no gentlemen that were making that. So.
no, you're right. This one does taste kind of like an after dinner drink, just a little bit. So,
Well, I tell people all the time, when I have this on my bar, and I usually do, it lasts about 2 to 3 times longer before it gets drained because I have to be in a specific mood
Yeah.
to want to drink it. Or, in a certain cocktail or whatever it may be. So, but there is a time and a place for it. It's just the finished bourbons, like the 46 and the Angel's Envy Rye, that is the largest growing segment in the bourbon, the finished bourbons. Folks like Jimmy Russell at Wild Turkey, they think that it is just it's abysmal. You're ruining it, but it's what I call a loophole, because the only thing you can add to bourbon, another one of the rules, is that it can only be water, right? But you're not adding rum to it; you're putting it in a rum receptacle. So it's kind of like a loophole, So some people, what they're doing that for, in my opinion, is for people who don't think they like whiskey. And it's too strong for them, so they're making something, I call it the candy cigarette effect. They're making something that more people can stick their toe in the pool for, and then they hopefully will move to something else. So
how's the bourbon industry there doing well? They're thriving, or?
Well, they are doing well. We have, right now, there are over 14 million barrels of bourbon that are aging in Kentucky. We have 4.5 million men, women, and children. So that's enough for every person that lives here to have 3 barrels themselves.
But there's a major issue going on in the U.S. Like the young people don't drink the same alcohol.
That's part of it, sure. There's potential issues with tariffs on the horizon and all that, especially with Canada. But there's kind of a wait and see type thing with that to see how that all shakes out. It might be, I know during COVID, a lot of distilleries made do by making hand sanitizer, and they adapted that way when they couldn't get it from other places. So bourbon is thriving. I'll give you an example. When the Frazier opened up with the Spirit of Kentucky in 2018, there were 6 distillery/tasting rooms within 2 miles. Well, now there are 14 of them. So there are they keep adding them. People keep coming in. Bourbon's a $9 billion industry in Kentucky, from production to tourism and agriculture, and combined, it's right up there with the equine industry and the automotive parts industry. So there are concerns, that is for sure, Doctor, but it still is holding its own right now.
This smells a little bit of molasses to me.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, here's what I tell people all the time. Whatever it smells to you, that's the right answer. There's only one critique that matters, and that's the person who's got the glass in front of them. Because the people who are, all the master distillers are chemists by trade, right? And they can tell you everything you're supposed to smell. But when I'm on the other side, if I get one thing right, I'm pretty happy. So it's not, I'm kind of like Scott said, I can tell you what I like or what I don't like and why. But that's this fine Corinthian leather. This smells like, I don't know. I mean, everybody's different in that regard, right? but that's a
And
great
it changes by day.
Yes.
Right?
What you had to eat, all
Right.
kinds of things.
Yeah.
So it's, that's very subjective.
Yeah, yeah, it
But
is.
this
lack
is
of a
heavy
better-
alcohol.
Yeah, yeah. True.
This will
Indeed.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do here is once as I rotate out and get the tap, I'm going to pour these for the people that are here for this meeting, and hopefully they will enjoy it with the same type of enthusiasm and gusto that you fine gentlemen did.
Thank you.
Now
To
this-
keep academia where it needs to be.
I'm completely ignorant on bourbon, so
Yeah, no, it's good. You got a good start.
No, you had some of the best questions. I should have expected it from a fellow SEC guy.
SEC.
These OHIO guys, I got to keep an eye on. But, I'm teasing, Doc.
We'd love to hear your comments or ideas for topics and guests, so please reach out via email at anh.marketing@balchem.com with any suggestions, and we'll work hard to add them to the schedule. Don't forget to leave a 5-star rating on your way out. You can request your Real Science Exchange t-shirt in just a few easy steps. Just like or subscribe to the Real Science Exchange and send us a screenshot along with your address and t-shirt size to anh.marketing@balchem.com. Balchem's Real Science Lecture Series of webinars takes place on the first Tuesday of every month, with the top research and nutrition topics that will impact your business. We also include small ruminant, monogastric, and companion animal-focused topics throughout the year. Visit balchem.com/realscience to see the upcoming topics and to register for future webinars. You can also access past webinars and search for the topics most important to you.